Good morning. You know, when I walked in the door this morning, one of the first people that greeted me was Vincent. He loves being here. And you know, he has 48 different animals on his hat. 47. Today it's the wise owl. And he is thrilled today because the gentleman that he lives with is going to take him on his first vacation to San Francisco next Saturday. This coming Saturday. And they have 2 seats available. If you'd like to go with 3 maybe, but it's a small car, right? Anyway, if you're interested in having a fun day with Vincent and his friend Michael, see him after church, because I know it will be fun for him to see San Francisco for the first time. That's really great. Second, I just didn't channel that right. I don't know. Well, it's very exciting. He's very excited. The topic today is the individual and the universal. And it's a wonderful topic because so often we're wrapped up in our own lives, we forget about the universe, this immensity, this huge energy out there. And what we find is that it takes an awareness of where we are and where we want to go to make things happen. And I bet when you were 16 years old, you never had an idea that you would be sitting here in this center on this great spiritual path. If you did, wow. I surely didn't. And life to me is kind of like driving up Highway 1 along the coast. You know, there's the switchbacks and cliffs and all these things, and there's no direct line to the spiritual path. You've taken all these twists and all these turns, and you're here, so congratulations. You are the product of your awareness and how it's grown and how it's just expanded beyond belief. But it still takes a lot of faith to understand the universe, to understand the infinite universe, the infinite intelligence. It's so massive, it's so immense. And the issue is so hard because it's like a fish swimming in a lake. The lake's the universe, but the fish doesn't know that. So we're swimming in this universe of intelligence. And sometimes life is just too real, too solid for us to think about it. So right now, I'd like to invite you to hold up your program in front of your face. And if you don't have a program, hold your hand up in front of your face. All right, good job. This bulletin represents all the conflicts in your life, all the drama in your life. It's directly in front of you. And it's kind of like that fill in the blank thing. You says, I cannot see the forest for the trees. This program represents the tree that's blocking your view of the whole forest. You can take your program down now, thank you. But it represents how we forget to look beyond our immediate problems and feel that immensity of the universe. So often our life is just centered around this one tree. Now, if you're walking in the redwoods, that seems to be okay, because every time I walk in the redwoods, I feel the presence of God. I feel a connection there. I feel the beauty. I feel the power. I feel the immensity of it all. And how old those trees are. How many lifetimes were lived as these trees grew. So when life seems to be kind of out of order, I think about that, walking in the redwoods, because in that place, I feel there is order. I feel peace. I feel beauty. This is all energy. Everything in the redwood forest, as well as the universe, is vibrating energy that just happens to appear like a podium or a program or a tree or a redwood. This energy is everywhere present. It's now called by scientists the field. One big, immense field of energy. And it's in waves. Everything's still moving. It's in waves. And one wave affects another and affects another. It's kind of like how you found your way here. There were these waves of energy going on in your life if you didn't even know it, and you happened to meet the right person on the right time, and then you thought, okay, I'm too scared to go, and then you did come, and it wasn't too bad, and you're back. It's this dance, this energy of life that's pulsing through the universe. One of my favorite authors is Deepak Chopra, as you probably know, and he wrote this Book of Secrets. Fabulous book. In chapter 11, the whole chapter is the universe thinks through you. It thinks through you. And he had a story of a man who came to visit him at the Chopra Center. And this man had been to India many times. He wore amulets, and he had been blessed by holy people, and he just wanted to meet Deepak Chopra. And Chopra asked the man, well, what do you do for a living? And he said, oh, a little healing, a little psychic stuff, no big deal. And he said, well, can you show me? Can you give me an example? And the man said, well, if you take out a piece of paper and write down a question that you have, I'll give you the answer. So he wrote down that he really wanted to know about his wife because she was in New Delhi and he didn't know when she was coming home. So the man stood there and he didn't share the paper, he just wrote it down and held it. And the man chanted this long, long chant. And he looked up and he said, Tuesday. She's coming home Tuesday. And it was like, wow. So after the man left, Deepak called his wife and she said, oh, I'm coming home Tuesday. And he thought, you know, here's a man who studied spirituality for many, many years, and he's still baffled by how someone can connect two minds that are across the earth from each other. But that's it. The universe has all this information in it. And he was just able to connect the two energies, the love between the husband and the wife. I don't know. It's an amazing thing. It was the gentleman's awareness in his deep study of the universe, but his awareness that all knowledge is always available. So let me take you to last Thursday in my life. Reverend Sue was out of town, and her practitioner class meets on Thursday, and she asked me if I would do the class for her, and I said, I'd love to. And one of the most challenging things for a practitioner to learn is when somebody has an issue, there is a cause, obviously, but most people don't remember what the cause is because it's a pattern of negative feelings, emotions, thoughts that are stored in the subconscious mind, which this gentleman from India could access, obviously. In the Science of Mind text, Holmes wrote, the first principle fundamental to understanding the operation of thought is that we're surrounded by infinite intelligence, and this infinite mind reacts to our thoughts according to law. Now, we call it the law of cause and effect, that our thoughts, beliefs are energy. They get stored in subconscious mind, and energy attracts like energy. One case in the practitioner's workbook was very interesting. It was a man by the name of Bill who lost his car, lost his wallet, and was afraid he was going to lose his job. So he came to a practitioner for help. In the meeting Thursday, I asked the students, okay, what do you do? And one student said, well, I'd ask him about other losses in his life, and I'd ask him about his belief in loss, and I'd ask him if he's ready to give up that belief in loss. I said, that's really good. But if Bill was a real person, it doesn't do anything to uncover cause. So I encouraged her to say to Bill in this theoretical client session, why is he having a string of losses? And he might have said something like this. He feels like a loser and he's never going to get ahead. he lost his girlfriend, which proves he can't keep anything. And he feels inadequate about doing anything right. Now, from this information, the practitioner can key in on those energy-filled words like inadequate, I feel inadequate, which goes along with feeling like a loser. By probing this, the practitioner could find that Bill's mother always told him he'd never amount to anything, that his family or friends bullied him at times, and that his boss criticized him for not wanting to drive on business, hence the loss of the driver's license and the loss of the car. So it was this stored up negative energy that was attracting like energy and creating his issues, his problems. Now, it's important that the practitioner share with Bill that God's love is always present, that God's love is consistent, God's love is constant. But to change the cause, it's important to tie our spiritual principles, the truth of what we know, with what is the issue for Bill. And that's the third step of treatment, if you ever wondered about that. When the practitioner says, and I accept for Bill, it needs to contain those items that were the cause and speaking the truth about it. So the truth is that it's a soul's journey for Bill. He's here to evolve, and his current stumbling blocks are just that, old beliefs, tired old beliefs, and they can be changed. Those beliefs can be changed because this is a sacred journey. You are on a sacred journey. Bill is here out of God's love. And if you're here, you're supposed to be here. And if you're supposed to be here, the universe has your back in the law of cause and effect. So finding ways to express the truth through you, the truth within you, is the greatest thing you can do on the spiritual path. Because as Holmes wrote, infinite intelligence responds to us by the necessity of being true to its own nature. And its own nature is to respond by what you're focused on, to respond by what you believe. So, I have questions for you today. Do you believe that universal law is consistent and absolute? Do you believe that we live in a life-affirming universe? Do you believe that life is eternal? I hear you two over here, practitioners. Do you believe that you're a spiritual being living in a spiritual universe? If anything in your mind says, I don't know about that, please come and talk with us, because it makes a major difference. If you believe the law is consistent and absolute, then you want to make the right use of the law. The right use of the law is not condemning anybody in the world. The right use of the law is not making people wrong. The right use of the law is knowing we're all here for a greater good and the universe has our back. So ponder these and let that learning curve that brought you here help you connect those dots in your life. Because it's so easy to be negative, and it's so easy to not forgive someone. It's so easy to blame others. So what you'll experience from connecting those dots is a significant leap in your conscious awareness. Chopra said our lives flow with the energy of the universe. He said there's no difference between our breathing and the rainforest breathing. There's no difference between our bloodstream, how it flows, and the flows of the rivers on the planet. As we evolve, the universe evolves. So your own personal evolution that brought you here has helped the whole universe evolve. Because of you, there's more love in the universe, and there's more peace, and there's more beauty, and there's more joy. So there have been critical points in your life when you had to make a decision. And how you did that will tell you how in touch you were with the flow of the energy in the universe. Were you ready to move forward? Were you ready for change? Were you paying attention to what was happening around you? Did you notice opportunities? Did you take next steps? If you did, the universe supported you and things flowed. And you felt more expanded and you felt a greater sense of freedom. So I had the pleasure of looking at this in my life the last 2 days, writing this talk, and I remembered this sequence in my life. I had worked years ago, I grew up in Ohio, and after high school, I started working in a lumber yard, and I loved the lumber industry. And finally, I decided to go to college, which Ohio State was just down the street. And I got a degree in forest products manufacturing, sawmill management, because I had been selling lumber. I mean, the connection today, I don't know if I'd do it all over again because it was really hard, but it's been my life. But the other thing was my husband and I wanted to move from Ohio to the West Coast, and I thought this was a great way to do it. Get a degree in the lumber industry, move to the Pacific Northwest, which was lumber and lumber king in those days. And so here's why I see that it worked after working on this talk. We were ready to move. Our friends weren't ready for us to move. Our family wasn't ready for us to move, but we were ready to move. And I paid attention. I looked up all the lumber companies that I thought I would like to work for, and I researched them. And a month before graduation, I paid for a flight for myself to go to Portland and Seattle and meet with managers in those companies. Now, they thought it was kind of odd. I just was coming in to interview them, but I thought maybe they remember me and offer me a job later, but I wanted to know more about the companies. And what happened is, about 3 weeks after that, a company flew me to Portland. It was Crown Zellerbach for an interview. And within 5 days of graduation, I had the job. The environment further supported me, Spirit further supported me by having a friend in Ohio whose sister lived in Portland who had a house for rent that was fully furnished. So we moved right into a fully furnished house, and I started work the next day. I really felt like a new person. So do you see how that worked? It just flowed. So if we're feeling stuck, if we're feeling we're not able to make a lot of progress, it's time to look at that. How in tune am I with the universe? If we aren't paying attention, the universe won't support that. Isn't that interesting? It supports it, actually, by not supporting you if you're not paying attention. It's working perfectly. So within a few months of getting this job, I was promoted to Puget Sound, where I was to work for 2 pulp and paper mills, buying the wood fiber from sawmills that they needed to make paper. If you didn't know, paper is made from wood fiber. One in Port Townsend, one in Port Angeles. And what I learned very quickly is that this is one of the most volatile markets you'll ever find, because it's an international, almost a universal marketplace. Because the sawmills make enough lumber to meet the market. Sometimes the market's up and down. The pulp and paper purchased by countries all over the world is up and down. So what I learned was I may have all these contracts, like I had a contract with Simpson Timber and their sawmill in Shelton. I had a 5-year contract, but every 3 months I had to renegotiate the price because of the volatility in the marketplace. And I was going to tell Sue, this is where I learned to do spreadsheets. I learned it really well. One column was, is lumber going up and down? One column is, are pulp mills selling more pulp? One column is, how many logs are coming out of Canada to Japan? How many logs are coming out of Seattle going to China? Are the longshoremen going to renegotiate a contract and shut down all my barges for 2 weeks? All these things on this spreadsheet. That's how you decided what the price should be. And so the manager of the Shelton sawmill, he was a tough guy. In the first meeting, I was ready to sit and chat, and he goes, look, I'm a busy guy. You got 30 minutes to prove what you think is right for the price of our wood fiber. I was like, holy cow. So I took a deep breath and said, I'll come back next week. And I remember why McDonald's is my favorite place, because before I would meet with him every 3 months, I would sit at the McDonald's in Shelton and I'd work on my spreadsheet and I'd have all these numbers. And finally, this one point, I called my boss in Portland and I said, I think the time is right for a 30% decrease in our price. And we were buying $6 million a year of wood fiber from this guy. And the other buyers said, crazy, that's not going to happen. But I was paying attention, I did my homework, I analyzed the marketplace, and the environment supported me. And I was rewarded because I told my boss and those two other buyers, if I do this, you're going to give me a fifth of Crown Royal. Now, in those days, that was what a guy would do. And I got 3/5 of Crown Royal. So as we build our relationship with the universe, we have to notice the days when things just flow. It's like going to town the other day. Paul said, God, we hit every green light. And the days when they don't flow. And think about, what is our consciousness that day? What are we focused on? What have we been focused on? Because when we feel absorbed by the rhythm of nature, like the rain the last few days, I could not stop looking at the rain. It was pouring. But I looked at the grass and it was green, and the trees are popping out beautiful green leaves, and it was the rhythm. It was the rhythm of nature. It's that I and thou relationship. I am me, but spirit, universal intelligence is all. And we're really one, all of us together. So if you're interested in expanding that part of your spiritual path, classes are the way to do it. We are lifelong learners. Spiritual practices open you up to connect more deeply with God. When we do that, we feel that universal presence, just like you do at the ocean. And we find our fears and our worries fade away. There's nothing that we can be separated from in the whole universe. We are one with the whole, and so it is. So let's pray for that. Just pray for a greater awareness in all of our lives, how connected we are with each other and with everything that's happening. It's true. There is only one. We say that all the time. There is only one. There's only one thing happening here. That is the love of God that has brought each of us into this life experience, for God to know itself in a greater way. So as we grow up in our spirituality, as we learn and grow and expand in our spirituality, we come closer to that place where we feel the peace, power, beauty, and joy of the one on a more consistent basis. How great it is to wake up in the morning and go, yay, God, another gorgeous day in paradise. How great it is to drive in this morning and see the blossoming trees and the sunshine after days of rain, and just taking a breath and feeling the refreshed air that we breathe. This is being at one. So I accept that for all of you today. Everywhere you go, feel the one. Feel the energy of the one, the presence of the one, and be grateful. As I am grateful for life's experiences that have awakened me to how powerful this teaching is, that have awakened me to my understanding of the divinity of all. So I release these words knowing they're already so in the mind of God, and I accept them for you and me in this moment. And so it is. Thank you.